Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Thank you, Todd, Andy, and Jamaica. It was beautiful music this evening. We're so blessed to have you all sharing your gifts. So welcome once again. Welcome to Wednesday night service to Unity of Houston. Hey, Carol. And I just want to say, when we say welcome here, when we say welcome, we're really welcoming all the parts of you that you bring here, your whole self. So if there are parts of you that tonight are celebrating, wonderful, they're welcome. But also if there are parts of you that are in turmoil, if there are parts of you that's maybe grieving a loss, if there are parts of you that you're not exactly proud of, I know there's parts of me, if there are parts of you that you're embarrassed about or that you don't even want to look at, or parts of you that you're really attached to and you're afraid that they're changing somehow. All of it is welcome. So that's the good news, right? So we can all just breathe. Oh, we're just all okay, just how we are. All is well here. It's a good thing to know that, because tonight we're going to talk a little bit about change and uncertainty. Not quite bad words, but sometimes they have a little bit of a bad reputation. Right? Change can kind of get away with some things. I heard somebody this weekend say, well, I like change when it's my idea, right? So we can, that kind of change, good. Other change that is somehow, maybe forced upon us, we weren't expecting, we may not be so friendly with it. And I feel like uncertainty is a very close cousin, or at least some kind of really close relative with change. Because often it's when we're in the experience of change, in the experience of shifting, transitioning in some way or the other, that we don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. May not even know what the next moment's going to look like, but gosh, we love to know. We just love to know stuff, right? I think that that we've grown up in a world where the people around us have really rewarded us for knowing stuff. When we're in school, you don't get rewarded for not knowing the answer, you get rewarded for knowing the answer. And we love to learn and love to show that we know things and love to figure stuff out. If there's a problem, we can find the solution for it. I know I like to know things. I especially like it when I know something that my husband doesn't know, which happens a lot, Chris. It doesn't, but I love it when it does happen. Ha, you didn't know that. And too, though, when we err too far on the side or put so much of our attention on our value being in this place of what we know, what we can figure out, what we can predict, what we can control, then we squeeze out any room in our life for the gifts of mystery and for the beautiful magic that is in uncertainty. And those places of mystery and uncertainty where we open ourselves up and we're willing to not know are the places that we tap into the infinite wisdom and infinite possibilities of the divine. So one of the things I love about our teachings at Unity and New Thought is that we don't mess around. We start with a very bold claim. And that claim is that there is one presence, one power in this world, in our lives, in the universe, and it is God and it is good. And we don't really mind so much what name you use for that God. You use something that resonates with you. And the thing about that, whatever you choose to call it, the divine spirit, is that it is birthless, deathless, changeless. And it is infinite, and that is always and forever true. And there's nothing, no circumstance, or no one that is outside of that circle of God, outside of that circle of good. No matter what it feels like, there's nothing that can ever be outside that circle. And yet, we also acknowledge that in this human experience, sitting in these chairs, sitting wherever you are when you're hearing this message, with these bodies that we have, these very interesting bodies, that we are having an experience in what we may refer to as the world of form, the world of condition, the world of duality, where here I am over here, there you are over there. I have my life circumstances and situations that, some that I prefer and love, and others that I find challenging, and they're all constantly changing. And there you are over there, and you have your life circumstances, and some of them you love, and some of them you don't love so much, and they're all constantly changing as these bodies, as well as these bodies. So in one way, you might say that we are inhabiting two realms. This realm of the absolute, infinite, never changing, and then also living in a world where everything changes all the time. So it's no wonder that we're exhausted a lot of the time. That sounds like a big job to inhabit these two realms. But Ernest Holmes said he said that change is always taking place within that which is changeless, and that change is merely the play of life upon itself. So change is natural, completely natural, as much as we might not want it to happen. And uncertainty and not knowing, when we're in the midst of that change especially, is natural. And none of it is happening outside the realm of the divine, because all of it is happening and being held within the infinite. And so sometimes it can feel like it's happening outside, and it's not. So Roger Teal, we've been exploring his book, This Life is Joy, and he tells a story in there about a man who was always dreamed of going on a fishing trip in Scotland. So he saved up his money and he went to Scotland. He's so happy. He's out on the lake one morning, just peaceful, quiet, enjoying his time out in nature. And all of a sudden, he senses a little disturbance. And then he hears quite a commotion. And he looks over, and up out of the water is the most fearsome creature he's ever seen in his whole life. His huge jaws, 12 feet wide jaws, just about to snap him up. And in that moment he says, God, please help me. And he hears God's voice, and God said, "Oh, you're calling me? I didn't think you believed in me." And the man said, "Well, I didn't believe in the Loch Ness Monster till a few minutes ago. Give me a break." So Roger Teal talks about that. Some of us feel like that's what uncertainty and change is. We relate to it like it's the Loch Ness Monster. There's something murky under the water. We can't quite see what the next step is forward. We don't know. And rather than being able to be comfortable with that knowing, we want to fight it. We want to wrestle it down to the ground and make it make sense for us. And when we get in that mode, we create a disconnect. We can't really ever be disconnected from God, but what we do is we get so consumed and wrapped up in our egoic mind, you might want to say, or so wrapped up in this fixing things on the world of form, that what we have done in effect is cut ourselves off from the very wisdom and power that is seeking to be shown through us. And I love that it's kind of one idea is that's almost a mistaken identity, because what we think is our life is really more our life situation, right? Our life is actually what's happening here, as well as the fact that we are emanations and expressions of the divine. And it's a mistaken identity, or I like this idea of it being almost a mistaken geography. Michael Beckwith says that our spiritual work is to break down the illusion that we have a life here and the life of God is somewhere over there. And so it sometimes feels like that when we're going through uncertainty, because we have cut ourselves off from that divine intelligence that is within us, if only we can get still and allow things to breathe and recognize that we're in that fix-it mode. Because we often can sometimes, I know for myself, feel depleted when we're thinking we have to fight that monster of uncertainty, or it's just going to gobble us up. Because we're looking for, in this world of form, we're looking for a sense of constancy. We're looking for depth and meaning and joy. And yes, we can find that in this world, but when we experience it in this world, in form and of duality, it's because it has arisen from the realm of the divine. Does that make sense? It's not so much that we are, when we look for some experiences to give us joy, experiences to give us meaning in our life, looking for things to provide a sense of safety and security. All of those things come from within us, and from within us we are able to express and experience them out in the world. So it's no wonder that we get frustrated sometimes, because we expect the world to give us something that it wasn't even designed to do. This world was designed to be a dynamic, changing environment in which we get to learn and grow. So we sometimes experience that we want to try to change something, and we get frustrated with this, but it's kind of backwards, because we're trying to figure it out here when the solution is actually coming from within. So maybe you found yourself depleted when you've tried to keep something or someone from changing, or you're trying to change them. Or maybe you found yourself worn out when you've wanted to figure something out. There's some problem that you just feel like you need to solve. And the more and more energy you put behind it, the less and less clear the answer seems to be. That's energetically depleting. But we do it. We do it because instead of wanting to sit with the uncertainty, I certainly have done it. And we can even experience sometimes being ashamed or embarrassed when we feel powerless to fix or change something for someone we love. That can be a very difficult position too, because we want to have the answer for them. And we don't. We simply don't. And it's not that that there isn't a solution for every problem. There is a divine solution, and sometimes it's tapping into that magic of uncertainty. And it feels like you're not doing anything. That's the thing about uncertainty, is that what? So I'm just supposed to sit here and say I don't know? But it's actually a very active posture. Because when you give yourself permission to not know, to be in the moment, to be present with what is, there is an aliveness that begins to work through you, in you, and will express in ways that you didn't even realize were possible. All of the sudden, there will be solutions, there will be people, there will be connections that come your way that you would have never even thought to look for. When you are willing to not know, when you're okay with it, you tend to meet life with curiosity instead of resistance. And when we've heard the phrase, what you resist persists, and there's a reason why you hear that over and over, because resistance does tend to create more resistance. Whereas curiosity, which I believe is a spiritual practice, is an opening. It's what is here for me now. And it's a, I would say, almost a divine innocence, that you just open yourself up and trust that your higher self is revealing the answer. Ed Catmull, he was the former president of Pixar. It was a very creative company. And he says this, that there is a sweet spot between the known and the unknown where originality happens. The key is to be able to linger there without panicking. So when we are in the midst of this way did work and now it's not working so well, we're hospicing what is old and no longer works, and something new is wanting to be born, but we don't quite have an image of it yet either. So what? We're in the murky waters of the Loch Ness, right? We can't see. And so are we willing to fight our way to try, are we wanting to fight our way to try to make this new thing hurry up and happen? Or can we sit there in the discomfort of the unknown, as magical as it is? I'm not going to lie and say it's not always comfortable. But to sit there and be okay with, I really don't know what's next here. And when people ask you, after you've just either lost your job, a relationship has ended, what are you going to do next? And be okay and in your power with saying, I don't know. I don't know. And not feeling lessened by that answer, and instead feeling empowered by it. When my kids were younger, they wanted to learn how to float in the pool. And to them, that kind of looked like magic. You know, the adults got to float. Oh, remember when they thought we were magical? Not so much anymore. They're grown. Don't do anything magical, just do weird things according to them. Anyway, when they were younger, they wanted to learn to float. And when we would be in the pool with them, and I'd have them lie on their backs in the water and have my hand under the small of their back. And I say, all you need to do is relax. So there they'd be with my hand underneath. They could feel my hand in the small of their back, relaxing. But the moment my hand dropped just a few inches, their little bodies would tense up like stiff as a board, and they'd start moving their arms. They felt like they had to do something in order to float. And there they go and sink. And time again, we tried that over and over. And eventually, I don't know if they ended up trusting me enough or they just wanted to be able to have the bragging rights they could float. They ended up trusting in that. They didn't learn the physics of how to float. They didn't study how to do it. They relaxed, and trusted that if they did nothing, if they opened themselves up, that they would be supported. So I don't pretend that all of our challenges in our lives are as easy and will be resolved as easily as just learning to float. But I do think, for me, it's worth asking myself the question, when I am struggling to stay above the water in that way, on top of the water, what do I think is down there? Am I worried that the Loch Ness Monster somewhere scooting around in that unknown? Or can I bring my awareness to the truth that there's only ever more God? No matter how deep we look into every problem we have, no matter how deep we look into every time that we feel diminished by uncertainty or not knowing the answer, you will only ever find more God in you. All of the things that make us feel that we are separate are simply just calling us home to that truth. And it's not about, it's information, not condemnation. And that's the way I like to look at it. Oh, there I forgot again. There I forgot I had to do it all. I thought I had to do it all myself again. Oh, I know that game. And calling myself back home to the truth of not having to. So I want to share with you a reading from the Tao Te Ching. And some of you are probably familiar with the Tao. It's an ancient teaching, a couple thousand years old. The legend is that a man named Lao Tzu wrote these 81 chapters. It's a very small book. It's the second most translated book after the Bible. So it's been a teaching that's been around. A lot of people have benefited from it. And the main premise behind the Tao, I'm no expert, but the main premise behind it is living a life in harmony with life itself. And one of the ways that the Tao instructs that we can be in harmony, be in the flow of life, be in those spaces of the unknown and uncertainty, is this principle of Wu Wei, and it is doing by not doing, or non-action. And in this kind of non-action, it doesn't mean like sit on the couch and watch, okay, I'll sit here and my problem will be solved. It's an alertness. It's a non-action. It may not look on the surface level as if we are doing anything, but it's an alertness of what is here, right now, in this present moment. What is life saying to me? What am I being called into an experience of here? Where am I resisting what is wanting to come through me? Where am I resisting my next greater good, my next opportunity? Whatever it is, Wu Wei is noticing and being open to what life is wanting to reveal. And so it's like this experience of when we want to experience depth and joy, peace, we get in touch with that which is in us, and it flows through us. And this is what the Tao teaches, is it's not about what happens out here, or about the world of what they call the good and bad, the world of 10,000 things is what the Tao calls it. because it will always give us misleading evidence many times in the world, right? So I would like to read to you a chapter from the Tao. And when you hear the word Tao, it's translated as the way. And you can replace any word that you have for the divine, for God, when you hear the word Tao. So I invite you, if it feels comfortable for you, just to kind of go back into that inner awareness, turn your attention inward. And this is just one way that the infinite expresses itself. Every being in the universe is an expression of the Tao. It springs into existence. It takes on a physical body and lets circumstances complete it. That is why every being spontaneously honors the Tao. The Tao gives birth to all beings. It nourishes them, maintains them, cares for them, comforts them, protects them, and takes them back to itself. Creating without possessing, acting without expecting, guiding without interfering. That is why the love of the Tao is the nature of all things. And so this idea of acting without expecting, of guiding without interfering, this is a way that we can embody the Tao, embody the divine in our own lives. Yes, we can have our goals, we can have things that we'd really like to see brought to fruition and manifestation, and we can open ourselves up to even greater possibilities when we work with the flow of life, when we don't try to force the always changing to never change, or force the life of mystery and uncertainty to give us the answers we want right now. So I think that this is an example too of how we began this with God being all things. That there's no experience outside of this creative energy that is constantly giving birth to all things, that loves and nurtures all things, that is open and receptive, and it doesn't seek to grasp or control. And somehow, even with all that grasping and controlling, nothing gets left undone, and nothing gets left out. And so I'd like to offer you a blessing that may you, whatever it is in your life that you're feeling uncertain about, that you'd love to have an answer for, and the answer just doesn't seem to be coming through its normal channels, through the intellectual mind, through all your problem solving, all your brainstorming, that may you be open to the magic of uncertainty. May your heart be open to receive the flow of love that naturally wants to come through you and express as you. May you know that this is the truth of who you are, that any diminishment you feel, any need that your success or your validity or your worthiness lies in the solution of this problem, that idea is just gone and released now and forever. And you can sit in the truth of your own being, which is that there is only love, love that heals, and love that sets us free. Amen.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.